What's up, everybody? Welcome to In Love with Horror. My name is AJ.
I'm Christy.
And y'all, welcome to our review series for the Overlook Film Festival. So the Overlook Film Festival is now over, and we'll be spending the rest of this week dropping reviews for all the films that we saw. All the reviews will be spoiler free, but make sure you are tuned in to both our YouTube or our Spotify and Apple podcast channels so that you can see all the films that we saw and see what we thought about those films in these spoiler free reviews. So the first film we're going to kick this off with, of course, is The Shrouds. Now, The Shrouds was the first film that we watched at the festival. Of course, we got there a little late. It was already, about halfway underway. But the Shrouds was the first film we watched. Of course, this is the latest film from David Cronenberg, who also wrote the film. It stars Vincent Cassel as the lead, a character named Karsh. Diane Kruger plays both his deceased wife as well as his sister-in-law, and then Guy Pearce is playing Maury, who is his ex-brother-in-law. But the story is centered around Vincent Cassel's character Karsh, whose wife recently passed away, and he has been dealing with that grief by way of creating a technology called the Shroud, which is where you can have your loved one wrapped in a shroud that's like it's some sort of technology, radioactive material that allows you to basically see their body in their casket or whatever they're in the earth. It allows you to get like a full 3D view from either an app or on the actual screen on their gravestone, and his company ends up getting like vandalized. A bunch of graves get vandalized, and then he goes on this journey to figure out who is trying to sabotage his company and his technology and what's going on. Now, it's a 2-hour film, so keep that in mind as well. But The Shrouds, first film we saw at the festival. What did you think about it?
So this movie, well, the way that they presented the film was that, David Cronenberg, it was a personal film to him, and
right.
It was how he dealt with his own grief after losing his wife. And so, I don't know, knowing that and watching this movie, I'm like, what? It's a lot. It's a very, it's an a lot movie. That's basically what I would say about it. There's a lot of things that don't make sense. A lot of things that are just like way out there, and a lot of things that don't really fit, I think, the story or the main story. I don't know. It seems like it's funny because there was someone behind us that said, "Oh, we really getting into the weeds now." And that's kind of like how I think it too, is like it's way off the beaten path of what we started out in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, I agree.
I do really like the idea of the shrouds, like the technology behind it, how it works. And it looks really cool, like seeing how, because at one point he puts the shroud on himself and you get to see how it works. But yeah, it's just really cool. I think that whole technology, that sci-fi aspect of it is really cool. But everything else outside of that, I'm like, I don't know what the hell we watching anymore. It's just way, way too much. And I know that, Cronenberg is known to make batshit crazy films.
Yeah.
But I just don't think this one was my vibe. It didn't really make a lot of sense to me. It's not something I would ever watch again. I know that it was initially supposed to be like a Netflix series, but they passed on it. And I was like, I can see why they definitely passed on this, because this is like, what the heck am I watching? And then it abruptly ends. And I kind of was like, why?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just like AJ even says, like, it's like he was just, I'm done writing this. So.
It's like he just quit. Like writing was like, oh, it's over.
Yeah. It's weird. So it ends really abruptly. There's no closure. I don't like closure. There's no closure to this film. It's just, you spend 2 hours on this journey and have nothing to show for it, basically, because we don't know. It doesn't end. The story doesn't really end. And that could possibly be because it was initially supposed to be a series for Netflix, and maybe the ending of the movie would have been like the end of like a season 1. That's the only thing I can say to myself to make it make sense for how it ends.
Yeah.
Because if that's not why, then I don't know what the fuck he was thinking and how he ended this movie. This one was definitely not for me. And obviously, I am about characters and things like that. I did like some of the characters. More importantly, I'll say I liked what the characters could have been if they weren't in this muddled mess of a movie. But yeah, those are my initial thoughts on this movie.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do feel like the movie is kind of a mess. I feel like it starts off very interesting, and then, like you said, it gets way into the weeds. It gets really convoluted, and it just starts to derail. And you're just like, man, what? Where are we going with this? What is going on? And the weird thing is, I'm not a huge David Cronenberg fan in the sense of I haven't seen all his films. I'm not saying that I dislike his films. I just haven't seen a lot of them. There's only 2 films that I've seen, which I like both of those films, The Fly and Videodrome. I actually really like Videodrome a lot. I think that's a dope ass movie. But as someone who's not a mega fan and seen everything, I almost feel like just based off the 2 films that I know and love that I'm just like, man, this feels so I don't know. Cause some people also say with this film, oh, this is if you're a mega Cronenberg fan, you'll like this. But I feel like even if you are, I almost feel like you would have to force yourself to like this because it's like you said, it's very muddled. It's extremely dialogue heavy, and some of the delivery of the dialogue isn't always the best. Sometimes stuff comes off a little wooden, and I just don't know if that's just the way things are written. Because we've seen these actors, perform better in all sorts of media, but. Unfortunately, this film does not work for me. I did not like it at all, and with the abrupt ending, with it going off the rails, and it's also kind of strange because, like you said, this is a movie that's very personal to him. It kind of, I guess, represents how he has handled his grief in the passing of his wife in real life. But when you watch this film and the different directions that it goes in, you're just like. I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I know people can handle grief in a lot of different ways. And you can definitely see in this film, he handles it in a lot of different ways. But it just gets super crazy. And, given the David Cronenberg films that I've watched, when the movie starts, I'm thinking that it's going to go in these really crazy sci-fi, body horror direction. And we don't really get that at all. This feels very much more like it's trying to be a psychological thriller drama. And I don't know, when I first heard the premise for the Shrouds, especially with it dealing with death and this connection to death, I thought it was going to get just super weird, but in a good way. And it definitely doesn't do that.
No, it doesn't.
And it's like I said, the runtime is 1 hour 59 minutes, but this movie feels really long.
It does feel
because
really
the pacing is not great. It drags on a lot. Like I said, it's very dialogue heavy, but it's dialogue that doesn't grip you, pull you in.
Oh well, yeah.
We've seen plenty of films that are dialogue heavy that are super interesting. Even the most recent I can think about from last year, Heretic. That's very dialogue heavy in that first half of the film.
Yeah.
And you talking about pulling you in all the way, you're locked in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. This was not it was not a good first of all, it wasn't a good way to kick off the festival for us.
No, it wasn't. I'm gonna keep it real. It was not a great way. I was like, jeez.
But yeah, it was incredibly way too long. And there were some scenes that were dragged out way too much. And then we kept revisiting this certain thing over and over again that didn't contribute to me, in my opinion, to the story. I feel like there was some reasoning behind these things that were happening all the time, but the clues or the inklings that you're getting from it wasn't enough for me. I was like, okay, why do we keep going back here, going back to this over and over and over again? I don't know. It was just, to me, it was a mess. It was very confusing, and it was just, it was not good.
Yeah. It honestly is just not a good film. I think one of the things I was saying when I came out was well, it's a movie,
Yeah.
Definitely not a good one.
But I really like the way that the Shrouds looked. I like the way that the graves cemetery thing.
The technology aspect in the film is super dope.
Stuff was super cool.
But that's the coolest part.
Yeah.
And they it doesn't play into the story the way that I would have hoped it would, especially with the films that I like from Cronenberg, like The Fly. You know, that has this piece of technology and shit gets super crazy. Videodrome, you know, that deals with like, you know, the snuff film scene, and it gets super weird, but like, you know, the crazy ass body horror and the brainwashing and just like, you know, what this is supposed to represent in this you know, dark underground violence, love and society. I just was expecting something different. Because low-key I was kind of excited to see this film. I was like, oh, because the premise sounds so interesting, but it does not deliver on that premise. And it's super disappointing because it just goes in directions that just don't make no sense. And you're just like, how do we even get here? And I don't want to experience it ever again. But hey, if you like it, like more power to you. I just gotta be honest. I feel like if you like it, you're forcing yourself to like it because this movie was rough. It's probably one of the worst films I've seen in a while.
Yeah, it was bad.
And we've definitely seen some bad ones. So definitely disappointed. But you know, we got his other filmography to go back and revisit anytime that we want. And so I'll probably do that myself. But y'all, that's what we think about The Shrouds. Again, that was the first film we watched at Overlook Film Festival out in New Orleans, Louisiana. Again, this is part of a review series. So we got about, five films in total, right? We're going to be doing 5 films in total that they're going to be reviewing from the films we saw. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're following us because you want to check out those reviews. A lot of those films I don't even think are out yet on streaming. So you get a sneak peek, essentially, if you will, on how good these films will be when you have access to watch them either in the theater or on streaming services. So make sure you are subscribed and following us. But thank you for checking out this review. We'll see you in the next review. We out. Peace.